Answer to add to that.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, answer. Yeah.
Oh no, the reason why religion keeps coming up in when we're talking about the issues over here is because, like he mentioned, it is the thing that's covering us from all sides, right? I mean, even if I take an issue like gender, that automatically is, creating problems within religion. I mean, if we to take a recent example, temple entry movements, okay? So here gender is directly coming in conflict with religion. Or if as he was mentioning, like why do we have to consider religion in talking about human security? Why not just focus on human security? The reason being that religion is not simply about an individual, a priest and a temple or a place of worship. Religion is also about certain markers in society, okay? So like gender is one example where religion is directly coming in conflict. So is also resources, right? So if we are going by governmental policies, maybe developmental policies, we will also see that in places a particular resource or a particular land, I mean, it has a lot of religious connotation. Okay, so any policy that the government would make, okay, or would debate, automatically concerns religion directly in a society like us. So it's very difficult to dissociate, issues away from religion.
Right. Sure.
I agree with you that the point I was making was that though we are focusing on religion, and we should do that, I'm not saying we should completely, let go of that portion. But all I'm saying is that we should give more importance now, since religion has been involved in gender issues, and gender issues are a part of the religion. Why not to focus on removing those inequalities amongst gender, amongst disabled people, and all that, instead of focusing on Muslims being a community and needing reservations and all that? That has been done. Okay, let's just
addressing the gender inequality part. Then one of the points that came in support of the Uniform Civil Code was the fact that it would address gender inequalities, the whole Uniform Civil Code debate. And that is the proponents of it that is one of the arguments, that it would remove gender inequality, in terms of bringing one particular law. But the moment you address it, the other religions, come into conflict, right? And one of the things is, we were discussing secularism. The curious point about Indian secularism, that we already have a Hindu Bill of Rights, whatever. We don't have it for the others and all. So I think that,
No, we have personal laws for all religions in India. Yeah, their own personal laws are followed, and in that way, that's why I argue that Indian secularism is post-secular in its nature, rather than secular itself. Should we conclude?
Continue. That's
okay. Right. So that ways this is what I am arguing. And as far as your question of gender is concerned and other things are concerned, okay, we are discussing religion over here. However, religion also, you said gender comes with birth and religion does not. And I would like to question that statement with the understanding that, are we really given that choice when identities are used that ways? Do we have a choice over there? And do we need a choice over there? That is also a question which needs to be maybe examined. And we are discussing a lot of it. Why religion is taking the foreground is because religion has become a very important marker in a country like India, and it is one of the most contested ideas. And just to give you a very quick example, it's not just Hindu Muslim and Dalit Hindu kind of twin debates. People in Jharkhand, like I come from Jharkhand, and tribal movements are very strong in that region. Depending on, we don't call them, as Professor Shani mentioned, we don't call them religious identities. We call them tribal identities, whatever that identity might be. Whereas it can be very much a religious identity. So whatever you are categorizing in religion, the point being that if your identity like if there are markers which categorize you, if there are markers in democracy, whether it be gender, whether it be now the third gender, the question of LGBT in India, that's also a marker, that's also a categorization, and we are all struggling with it. So it's not just religion that I'm trying to point over here, it's the idea of categorization in majority.
Okay, I think
majoritarian.
on that point, I would like to ask you to give Survey a round of applause for a very interesting Okay, this actually concludes the set of lectures which we'll be including as part of the GIAN program. However, beforehand, I would like to, if possible, to turn.
Yes.
I'll do it. To turn to some of the questions which...
No, you'll have to come
Okay,
here.
I'll do it. Thank you. To turn to some of the questions which we looked at in the beginning of the course. I think the first point to make, I will sort of give my opinions on the very interesting exchange we had earlier. In terms of your examination tomorrow, basically the main objective is to see whether you have managed to follow some of the debates which we've looked at in the course. There's no right answer and there's no wrong answer. Please make sure that your contributions or your answers are no more than 1 page of A4. I've been asked to tell you that. You'll have a choice of a certain number of questions, I think 8 questions, and you can get to choose 5. What I've tried to do is to try and incorporate questions which we've used for discussion. So I would like you to think about how a critical approach to human security differs from a problem-solving approach. This doesn't mean that you have to agree with it or not. How does a post-secular approaches to human security differ from other critical approaches? And the key question which I was interested in is a post-secular approach to human security desirable? Again, there are 2 ways of understanding post-secularism which I've introduced to you in the earlier lecture today. Habermas's understanding of post-secularism as continuity, and the idea of post-secularism as rupture from the Enlightenment project of secularization. The Enlightenment project of secularization makes religion less important to our identities, less important to the public sphere and to the political sphere. Now, in the very interesting debate earlier about gender and LGBT rights, I think that it cuts across different understandings of human security. What I would like you to think about is plural understandings of human security and how these plural understandings of human security speak to one another. Now, if we look at Galtung's understanding of religion merely as cultural violence, masking patriarchal power relations, then this cannot explain to us why a society which understands itself as secular and a society which understands itself as developed and advanced, such as Japan, has a lower gender empowerment ratio than Rwanda, for example, and societies such as India itself. So I think one thing we need to do is to disassociate ideas of gender inequality with ideas of religion. So I think that although they can be embedded in orthodox understandings of religion, religion itself is contested. So to give you another example of Christianity, Catholicism, there's nothing in the Bible which says that there shall only be male priests or there should only be a male pope. The structure and organization of the Catholic Church is deeply embedded within patriarchy. But that patriarchy itself is not explicit within the religious texts. And within Christianity, unlike Hinduism or Sikhism, we're talking about a textual tradition. Similar arguments have been made about Islam before and the role of women within Islam. But the point I would like to make, and I think this is the concluding point, with the point at which I'd like to conclude this series of lectures on, is whether it's possible to articulate an understanding, a universal conception of justice which cuts across different cultural traditions. So if we look at John Rawls's theory of justice, using Hobbes's social contract theorizing, this is what he attempts to do. Now, if this works, then we don't need to go through ideas of the post-secular. We don't need to engage with different cultural traditions. We can arrive at a mathematical a priori understanding of what a universal conception of justice is. But my question is, can this really happen? If we articulate ideas such as LGBT or gender rights, by using the term rights, we are using a specific term which came from a specific tradition. There may be similar understandings to rights which have been articulated in different traditions. So an example would be Sabah Mahmood's work on Islamic feminism, where she identifies feminism within various areas of Islam or Islamic jurisprudence and political thought. One work which I know quite well would be Nikki Gurinder Singh's book on the feminine principle of the Khalsa. When, by looking at Sikhism, she mentions what she basically puts forward an argument for the Khalsa being, rather than this sort of patriarchal organization of a bunch of sardars with kirpans, based upon a feminization of Punjabi culture, based on ideas of gender equality. I think she works on this in The Guru's Gift. So basically, I think there can be feminist arguments which can be articulated from within different cultural traditions. The problem is, how do they speak to one another? And I think this is the main problem of human security. If we're going to take this debate forward, what I'm not trying to do is what most post-structuralists and post-colonialists would do, which would be to say, okay, universality is the problem. There was a question about biopolitics. I can't really answer it. But biopolitics, in a way, any understanding of universality is premised on totalization. So with universality, there is an expansion of power relations, including, particularly for women, the expansion of power relations over the body. The body becomes a marker of power relations. Here, what I'm trying to do is sort of to get away or to rescue different conceptions of universality itself. So instead of dismissing universality, why not pluralize it? Why not look for understandings of universality in different cultural traditions? Because the way the dominant debate within international relations is today is there is a universal international system. This is universal. It's based on sovereign states. Sovereign states have interests. Then you have the liberal paradigm, which is based on the idea of rights, which is based on the idea of international law and institutions. But why not look at, for example, Islam or China or ancient India as sites of histories, alternative histories of international relations and alternative articulations of particularity and universality? So that's really what I would like to conclude on. I hope you've enjoyed the lectures. If you're interested, please read more from the book. Please ask your libraries to buy copies. I think I've sent you the link. There are a lot more stuff you can download from free from my website, so this is not necessary. But I hope you've enjoyed the course, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for the examination. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, very well done. Yeah, let's go for tea. Do you want to see if people want to go to? Yeah, sure. Do you want to invite some of the people out for tea, or do you want to see if they want to go, or would you prefer to just go?
Whatever you're comfortable.
There is going to be an exam, as I have announced before. So be here by 9:30, 9:40. We are starting sharply at 10 o'clock. This will go until 11:30. So you have got 90 minutes, okay, to answer 5 questions. And you will be given a choice of 8 questions, okay. All the lectures that has been recorded here, this will be in the JMI portal.
Yeah, it is a link is available on the JMI website, and it's the name of JMI-MHRD-GIAN program. So
there is a special GIAN portal in the JMI website, okay. But this will be uploaded probably in a month's time.
It will take a month around. Okay?
It will take about a month's time. Okay, all the lectures.
Available on the YouTube also.
It will be available in YouTube also. Okay? Right? So